Hey guys, I am so excited for today's video because we are actually going to be going into LinkedIn and looking at how can we do reverse networking. And if this is the first time you are hearing this term, please refer to the video that you might see pop up there. Explain what reverse networking is, why it's important, and what we're actually trying to achieve by doing this. And for those of you who already know what it is, remember a quick recap that we're using reverse networking as a way to gain visibility with the companies or the job roles that we've applied to. So we apply to a job role, then we look at who's in that company, who's in the team. Is there anyone that we could reach out to that could help us, that we could talk to, learn more about what that job role is, what they're looking for, and just seeing if it's a good fit for us. And so today I am going to be going through LinkedIn and showing you guys how you're actually going to go about doing this. And so I will be sharing my screen right now. Oh, sorry. So the number one thing that we're going to be looking at is okay, so this is my LinkedIn profile. You can see that I'm logged in here. But the number one thing that we're going to be looking at is the job role that I am interested in. For example, Square Peg hires, they're looking for a software engineer, and they're looking for, it's a remote position. I am firstly going to look at, do I personally know anyone who works at this company, right? Is there anyone that I already know that works here that could help me out to gain that visibility, and just check out if there's anything that they might be able to help me with. So I would look for Square Peg hires, right? On LinkedIn, I'm going to click on people, and I'm going to look at connections. I'm looking at basically my immediate connections does anyone that I know work at this company? So I don't know anyone that works at this company. Then I'm going to look at, okay, the people that I'm connected with, is there anyone that knows someone that works at this company? So I'm going to go second. Okay, so there are 5 people that either worked here previously or know someone. So this is one way that you can look at. I personally have not used this way, the second connection one. No harm trying. But for me, I've always looked at, like, do I immediately know someone? And then if not, then I look at, okay, I don't immediately know anyone, but when I scroll down and I look at the job poster, we can already see that the recruiter is given to us. So it's like, oh my God, this made our job so much easier. So I mentioned in the other video how this is sort of like a detective game where you have to find the right people for this position. And in this case, the job poster, the recruiter is already given to us, which makes our job so much easier. So usually what I would do is I'd open up the recruiter's profile. The first thing that I always recommend to do is to check if this person is even active on LinkedIn, because sometimes you'll have their posters on LinkedIn, but they won't be active on LinkedIn. So I always like to check it. And the way that you can do that is you just scroll down to activity, you look at see all activity, and it shows me that Laura liked something 4 days ago. So this shows that she is active on LinkedIn. And if I message her, I am most likely going to get some sort of response. I also just like to go through people's posts just to get a feel of what do they talk about? What are they interested in? What's important to them? So as we can see, for this specific role, I already have Laura as someone that I would want to definitely reach out to. And for those who are entirely new to LinkedIn, the way you do this is you go to, so there's a lock on this message because I don't have LinkedIn Premium. I don't want LinkedIn Premium. It's costly. The other way that you can connect with people is you go to more, you do connect, you click on connect again. You want to add that note. That's the message that we're going to be sending. I'll show you guys what you want to write here. But you have basically 300 characters. 300 characters? Yeah, 300 characters to make your first impression on the other person. And I usually have this message that I always send out, which I will share with you guys at the end. But as you can see, there wasn't much detective work that was required for this position, just because we can see that we already have the job poster. We already know who the recruiter is. If you would like, you can go ahead and look at the other software engineers within this company and reach out to them as well. There's no harm in doing any of that, right? So now that we've looked at Laura's, let's look at another example. So we have Warner Media and we have software engineer DevOps. They posted this a day ago and they're looking for 3 applicants. So if I scroll down, there is no job poster. So it's like, oh my God, who do I reach out to? All right, like that's what we're trying to aim with this. So what I like to do is I like to copy the title and then I'm going to open LinkedIn again. And we are going to just, I like to paste it in. It doesn't have to be DevOps. You don't have to you can just do software engineer. This is just what I'm doing right now. So we're going to click on people because we want to look at all the people, right? And then we're looking at, what was the company? Warner Media. So current company that we're looking at is Warner Media. So this shows us all the software engineers in Warner Media, but the job role is specifically in New York. So you want to look for the location that's in New York. This gives you all the people and the teams that are working in New York. So you can see you got it from 98 results to 12 results. And I'm curious to see that if we were to remove DevOps, would that, like how many results would we get for that? So like 95. So it is, there are things like that which really makes a difference where your keywords, you really want to play around with that. If you just search for software engineer, you have 95 people that you could potentially reach out to. But we see here that we know that it's specifically DevOps, so there's no harm in adding that as a keyword as well. Now, when we look at, sorry, I had some sort of glitchy thing. So now, again, we were here, software engineer DevOps, and we see we have 12 results, right? Again, we're looking at people within this company, we're looking at specifically the location, and then we're looking at people who work at Warner Media. Now it comes to I literally go ahead and I start opening up people's profiles. And I'm going to open up the first one, which is Brian. We go through Brian's profile, but the first thing, like I said, that I always do is just to check if that person is active on LinkedIn. Otherwise, there's no point reaching out to them, right? So there's nothing to see. He's not posted anything. He hasn't been active. I also check for contact info because sometimes they do have their emails there, or they might even have their profile on the about section, but this person doesn't seem to have anything much that we could potentially work with. If you're a Twitter person, which I am not, you can go through their Twitter and see if you can find anything there. I have done that before. But okay, so we felt like Brian is not active. It's going to be difficult to reach out to him. So we X out of his profile. So then we look at Susan. The next person is Suzanne. Okay, this is being a little bit annoying. I'm not able to open up Suzanne's profile because of this. Oh, there we go. Okay. So now when we look at Susan, we see that, oh, she's new to, she's a DevOps engineer. We know she's part of this team. And she's new to Warner Media. Again, I look at, has she been active? Oh, her last like was 2 months ago. Do I want to look at posts? So we see that she's not been that active since the last 2 months. I would go ahead and still send her a message just because you never know, there might be a chance she might actually look at it. But what's interesting is that we go through her posts and we see that if you're looking, we look at this post that she has, that if you're looking for a DevOps or system engineers positions, I recommend working on this team. So, and we see that Derek Stewart is someone who has already posted something for the system engineers team 4 months ago. So voila, we have another lead, Derek Stewart. So he's worked at Warner Media. We can see he's been active. and he was active 5 days ago. So I would definitely message him as well, because he already has had a position that he has posted before. So he would be a really good person to reach out to, just to see if he knows anything about, the position that we're looking at, which is the software engineer DevOps position. And he would most likely respond to you. Again, I like to go through contact info. If there's anything specific that we want to look at, no, not really. But again, Derek is someone I would reach out to. We've got another lead. Suzanne is another person that I would reach out to. This is really annoying. There, I'm sorry. Suzanne's another person I would reach out to, just because we know that she started recently. So she would have details on what the onboarding process was like, how joining the team has been like, right? So Suzanne is another person I would reach out to. Then another person that we saw was Bhargav. So Bhargav is also a senior system engineer, Warner Media, and he's in New York. Is he active on LinkedIn? He was active 1 week ago. We look at posts. I'd go through his posts. This is really annoying me, this message thingy. Okay, there we go. Now, why is it, sorry. Okay, there we go. Now, again, I'm gonna go through contact info just to see if there's anything. So look, guys, we're trying to go through people's profiles on LinkedIn to reach out to them on LinkedIn. But sometimes when you apply to a job role, there is that sort of time urgency where it's like, you want to reach out to people ASAP, right? You want to make sure that your profile is seen. And even if I were to reach out to Bhargav on LinkedIn, I would still go through his contact info. I would go through his blog and his WordPress just to see, like, is there anything else there that I could try and reach out to him faster, right? Because people don't check LinkedIn all the time. So I would go through his profile. It's in some language that I do not know, but we have these icons. We understand what these icons are. I would probably go into his YouTube and I would look at the about section. Again, it's detective. It's being a detective. And I'm able to do this so fast because I have done this so much. And it's fun. It's fun to do all this, right? Oh, it's fun for me. So I would go to his about section and voila, I'm not a robot and I got his email address. Yeah, and we'd be hitting Bhargav up on email on LinkedIn as well, right? And so this is sort of what it is. And in a way, it's sort of like a creative process. I like to think of it that way because you really have to look at all the potential ways to reach out to these people, right? And you're not always going to get it right the first time. Like, for example, with Brian, if we'd reached out to Brian, if we hadn't checked if he was active, we probably wouldn't have heard back. With Susan, we saw that she wasn't active since the last 2 months, but we would still try to reach out to her. With Bhargav, we see that he is active, and we also found his email address, right? So it's really like diving into their profiles and looking at like their contact info. Do they have their email addresses? If not, do they have a link to their portfolio? A lot of people have portfolios. Their portfolios would either have an email address or it would have like a contact me section. You would want to reach out to them on your contact me section. And even like we saw from Susan, like even though her profile, we saw that it wasn't really active, we saw that there was someone that had posted something for a system engineers or word DevOps position, and that was Derek. And we would definitely want to reach out to Derek, even though he's from Connecticut and our position is New York, we would still want to reach out to him because he might still have some information on who to reach out to. Okay. And now it really comes to like, what do we say to them? What do we message them? Like, okay, Shubhi, yeah, like you gave us this and we find the people, but like, what do we actually say? And so I have this message here, and this is the message that I've used all the time. Okay. I don't know why I signed that. Okay, but so I will say, hey, Derek, I recently applied to the software engineer DevOps position at Warner Media. As a computer science student, I have always been fascinated by blah, 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 add what you want. I would love to connect and learn more about the role and what the team looks for in an ideal candidate. So again, here, you're not asking for a referral. You're not being all like, oh, I applied. Can you please like, like check me out or check my profile out, right? You're creating this space where it's like, I want to know more about what you guys are looking for. And I want to understand if that's something that I'm interested in. This is your golden message. I have used this all the time, okay? The key is to finding the right people by looking at those keywords, those key terms. Then it's also finding ways you can message them. If it's not LinkedIn, do they have an email? Do they have a profile, a portfolio? Do they have an Instagram? Like, I mean, you want to be like, you don't want to be messaging people whose Instagrams are private. That might come off as a little bit too much, right? So like, just use that common sense about like, if there's anything, like what makes sense to you, basically. For this, take a screenshot of this and, just, you're going to use this message. Okay. And this is literally, I am showing you guys the message that got me my job. That got me my job and also got me my internship at American Airlines. So this is what you guys want to use. Feel free to like play around and like change it up according to what you feel suits you and your role. But this is what I would send. And so now you're probably like, oh, Shubhi, like we send this, but now what, right? Now you're going to have a lot of different scenarios that might pop up. So for example, with Derek, with him being in Connecticut and the role being in New York, he might be like, oh, I don't know who, or he might be like, oh, I am not the hiring manager for this role. Then you would ask, you have to be a little bit smart, guys. Like you have to be a little bit, like you have to think a little bit on your toes. It's not going to be like a template that I've given you this and it's definitely going to work, but you have to be a little bit like, okay, if he says that he's not the hiring manager, then you ask him like, hey, do you know anyone, or could you connect me to someone who might be the hiring manager to this role? And people are willing to help you out. They really, really are. Like I have never had someone say no to me because people are just generally really nice. But okay, so there are going to be different scenarios. So either it is the hiring manager, they're not, they can still direct you to the right person, the right people. They might not be the hiring manager, but they might be someone on the team, and you still want to talk to them because they can tell you what the team environment is like. They can tell you so many things that you would want to know at the end of the day. So this is what we're going to do, right? This is how we're going to do it. Again, looking at the job role, searching for it here, putting in the current company as Warner Media, putting in the location as New York, putting in the job role, looking for those keywords. Sometimes you'll have like software engineer as the job role, and maybe you wouldn't have had DevOps here, but sometimes down here, they'll mention the specific team, and you want to just make note of those things because it helps you when it comes to searching for those people that you want to reach out to, right? Because the bigger the company, the harder it is. So, and sometimes you'll have companies that have like tags or like keywords. Look at those keywords. Reach out to those people, use this message, and hopefully you'll get a response. And after that, after sending that message, after you get a response, the next video is going to talk about what do we do from there? Like, what are the questions that we want to ask when we get on a call with this person, right? I think that I know a lot of people are uncomfortable with getting on a call with a stranger, but that is really what's going to help make you stand out, your personality, how you're very proactive. Trying to do things through messages is just very difficult because after a certain point, everyone's really busy, and trying to respond to messages and being, up to date with it, it's very difficult for people who are, they're working, they have families, there's just so much going on. So usually my approach is once I send this, I get a response. Depending on what the response is like, I'll be like, hey, do you have some time to hop onto a quick call? Most of the time people say yes. I mean, every time people have said yes to me. So you want to get onto that call and you want to ask them questions about that role. And that's what's going to help you get that visibility, right? Sometimes even just sending this message, the person might be like, yeah, sure. They might not ask for to get on. You might not have to ask to get on a call, just because they'll be like, oh, cool, I'll ask the recruiter to check out your profile. But then again, you're still being proactive, right? You're still getting that recruiter to look at your profile, and it's not in those 2,000 candidates. So you have to be mindful of like what the scenario is. But let's say that you do need to have that chat with them. What would you talk about? What would you say? And that's what the next video is going to be about. But I really hope that this helps you guys, because man, I wish I knew these things. Like I would have like saved so much time, like quite honestly. And I just think that it's like another thing I just want to add. I feel like this would have been really long, but it is resourceful. But I remember like I would look at all these job roles, and there would be UX research. I'm a UX researcher. And I'd be like, I'd save them onto LinkedIn, save. And then because I knew I had to do this extra effort, there were some job roles where I just didn't feel like I would apply. Like I would just apply, but I wouldn't even apply. My rule of thumb was that if I apply, I need to do this whole thing of reaching out to people and putting in that effort. It's not easy, right? I mean, it gets you to where you want, but it's exhausting. So, but the good thing that came out of this is that I started realizing that there were a couple of job roles that I didn't feel like applying to, and I just saved them. And I was just like, I just don't feel like it, and I'm not going to force myself to apply because it doesn't make sense. Because if I'm not going to put in this whole effort, then it doesn't make sense to apply to a job. So that's where it came to like, I used to battle with myself. I'm like, I got to apply to like 5 roles every day. I'm like, but Shubhi, like if you're not going to do this whole thing, there's no point. It just means for some reason you really don't want that job role. So it kind of helped me prioritize what I wanted and what I didn't want, now that I look back, and that was kind of nice and beautiful. But I don't know why I don't know, it was nice. But it's a fun process. It's like being a detective, and like it makes you realize that the job is not just it's not like you're sitting and waiting for the company to come back to you. You're actually going out and doing your work as well and understanding what it is that they're looking for. And honestly, companies are going to love it. They're going to love it. So get to it. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn or in the comments below. I can do more of these if you guys find it helpful. But yeah, and there are some job roles that would be very difficult to find people, just because for example, like it's not difficult to find people, but it might be difficult to find people who are active on LinkedIn. That's where you have to get really creative, and you got to do some like stalking on Instagram, Twitter, and all that. And if you're a software engineer, just another side note, GitHub, GitHub, you can find like people's emails and stuff on that. That's another way. But anyway, I hope this has been of help to you guys. And yeah, I will see you guys soon with the coffee chat video. Bye.